US President Joe Biden and Russian leader Vladimir Putin exchanged warnings over mounting tensions on the border with Ukraine. Authorities urge people to limit their New Year celebrations as COVID-19 infections continue to soar across Europe.
France experiences its warmest winter yet, with the mild weather leading to many ski cancellations.
US President Joe Biden has warned Russian leader Vladimir Putin that Washington could impose new sanctions on Moscow if it launches military action against Ukraine. President Putin said further sanctions would signal the end of all ties between the two countries. The two leaders held a 50-minute phone call on Thursday, their second this month, over concerns about Russia's military buildup on the border with Ukraine. Putin's foreign advisor Yuri Yushakov spoke to journalists after the call. He said President Putin told Mr. Biden that Russia would act as the US would act if offensive weapons were deployed near American borders. He also warned that any further large-scale sanctions in economic, financial or military areas would be a colossal mistake, entailing grave consequences. The White House released a statement saying Biden had urged Russia to de-escalate tensions with Ukraine and called for a diplomatic response to the situation. US intelligence earlier this month said Russia was planning a possible military offensive against Ukraine, a claim Moscow has denied. But Putin says he wants a commitment that Ukraine will never be allowed to join NATO. Europe is once again preparing for New Year's Eve celebrations under the cloud of the COVID-19 pandemic. France has seen an explosion of new infections and a number of new health measures come into effect today, including the mandatory wearing of masks in public in many major cities. But this Paris resident says his New Year's Eve won't be affected as he'll be seeing friends. However, he is worried about his studies and having to go back to distance learning at school. He says he suffered from depression during the last period of restrictions and is hoping that this year he'll be less affected. In England, the health service is building temporary structures at hospitals to prepare for a possible surge of COVID-19 patients after a record number of new infections fueled by the Omicron variant. New cases in Italy are also surging, reaching more than 126,000 on Thursday. But people hoping to be tested faced long queues, fueled by supply shortages. What I find shocking, this Rome resident says, is that most people are here, not because they've had contact with somebody positive, but because of New Year's Eve, and they want to go and party. In Germany, authorities have urged people to be cautious during the celebrations, and large New Year's events have been cancelled. The sale of fireworks has also been banned after a surge in new infections. And while new cases have hit a 10th daily record in Spain, hundreds of people in Barcelona protested against new restrictions on Thursday, holding an improvised street party without people wearing face masks.
It's the end of an era, as Germany's nuclear phase-out enters its penultimate phase. 3 nuclear power plants will be taken off the grid on December 31st. Symbolically, one of them is the Brockdorf nuclear power plant, which became a target of protest by opposition to nuclear power in the 1980s. At midnight on New Year's Eve, it shut down, much to its overseer's disdain.
The last few days have been accompanied by a fair amount of melancholy. We have operated the plant for 35 years. We looked after it, we kept it at the best technical level, and we always operated it safely.
No trace of melancholy is felt by Carsten Hinrichsen, a long-time anti-nuclear activist, also known as the Brockdorf Rebel.
I'm quietly but steadily rejoicing that the thing is now shut down. This is not euphoria. Some people ask me if this is a victory. No, it's not. It's taken far too long for that.
In 2011, the then Christian Democrat government under Angela Merkel reversed the decision to extend Germany's usage of nuclear plants, after the Fukushima disaster in Japan earlier that year. The 8 oldest reactors were shut down immediately, with the remaining 9 to follow in stages until 2022. After Brockdorf, 5 plants still remain: Grond, Emsland, Gundremmingen, Isar and Neckarwestheim will go offline by the end of next year, completing the 11-year phase-out. Germany is firmly resisting attempts by the EU Commission to classify nuclear energy as a sustainable technology. It is also fine-tuning the expansion of renewable energies. By 2030, 80% of the country's electricity is to come from wind turbines, solar panels or biogas plants. Bordeaux residents are making the most of the good weather, as France experiences the warmest winter in its history. That's according to the forecast of Météo France, with temperatures 10 degrees warmer than average in some regions. This man is enjoying the good weather and says that it's nice to be out and about. No complaints though, especially not from restaurateurs, who are delighted with the extra bit of footfall. It's been a beautiful week, this man says, and despite all that's going on, people are making the most of it. While in Switzerland, ski-goers are not happy. The milder weather results in rainfall, bringing the winter activities at ski resorts to a halt, like this one in Grindelwald.
It's not so great, everything is quite wet, but we make the best out of it. Now we're here and there's still a bit of snow.
And mild weather increases the risk of avalanches. In Savoie, the recent weather has raised concerns over a possible snowfall. Claude Schneider, a ski patroller and rescue worker in La Plange, observes the snow cover several times a day.
You should know that fresh light snow in very good condition weighs about 40 to 50 kilos per cubic metre. And at the time of the 1 p.m. reading, it weighed 250 kilos per cubic metre, which is very bad for the risk of avalanches.
According to environmentalists, a succession of warmer winters is probably a direct impact from climate change. For those braving the slopes, the extra few layers might not be needed.
The long process of reconstruction is underway on the Spanish island of La Palma after a volcanic eruption that lasted almost 100 days. Bulldozers continue to dig through the solidified lava in the hope of restoring connections as soon as possible.
After being acclaimed at the Met in New York, the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao hosts Alice Neel in Spain until February. Neel is renowned for her freedom and frankness in dealing with sex and her own sexuality as a woman. The Musée du Luxembourg in Paris pays tribute to one of the most mysterious photographers who ever lived. Vivian Maier worked as a nanny in New York all her life, spending her time photographing the world around her. Her countless photographs were discovered after her death in 2006.
I'm the mystery woman.
Zhao Fei's Supernova exhibition is rich, complex, technological, and visionary. Fei offers a global reflection on our modern societies and our position as individuals. caught between the real and the virtual, memory and oblivion.